So, hi! Welcome to Behind the Hype with me, your host, as always, Brian Dressel. With me, as always, is Chewy Darso.
Hello.
And Jonathan Hardesty.
Wow, I'm here.
This week, continuing down the John Singleton route, man, did we take a turn.
Very different.
We went from very depressing with Boys in the Hood to depressing and somewhat uplifting with Poetic Justice to whatever the fuck this was with Shaft.
This was black exploitation, nostalgia, I would assume.
But done without, like, any hint of irony. It's just another Shaft movie.
And I think that's what people wanted.
Yeah, like, I'd only seen the original Shaft once, very long ago. I'd never seen this one. And, yeah, it just felt like watching another Shaft movie. Like, it's actually kind of impressive.
I was surprised, but I've never seen a Shaft movie.
The Shaft movie. There's only three of them.
Yeah.
And they're all called Shaft.
Yeah.
No sequel names, no
very
nothing.
serious about it.
Just Shaft.
But
Shaft and Shaft.
with the opening of this movie being very James Bondy with all the flashes and the naked ladies and stuff, I was surprised at the lack of sex in the rest of the movie.
Okay, you're diving straight into this movie. We're just doing intros right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm just letting everyone know, if you think you're going to get a bunch of sex talk with a Shaft movie, there's none.
It's his duty to please that booty.
Yeah, but then he
you
just
don't
says
see
it.
him do it.
That's true. We don't
Yeah.
actually see him fulfill his duty
No.
to the booty.
Nope. The duty is only talked about. The duty is only
Okay,
discussed.
stop calling it duty.
Why? It involves a booty.
Gross.
Yeah. and it rhymes with duty. And you gotta, that's the duty to please the booty.
It's our duty.
There's no poop in this movie either.
I mean, everybody poops.
Yes, but we don't see it.
Right. It'd be kind of like, I don't know, like you don't have to see everyone walk through a doorway
Yeah.
or open a door.
You know what this movie doesn't lack?
What's that?
Does not lack at all.
What's that?
Turtlenecks.
Oh, yeah. This movie likes their turtlenecks. But before we start actually diving way too into the movie, because we are diving way too fastly into it, did we have a Where Have They Been Doing this week?
No.
No.
I did not.
Yeah, we still did not have time. Unfortunately, for all of the Where Have They Been Doings that I'd like to be watching, Last of Us 2 has also come out. So,
No movies.
whoops.
And I started killing Eve.
Yeah,
And I've decided that Eve is killing herself.
fair enough.
That's my hot take. Which is probably
yeah,
not a hot take. It's probably on the internet.
And then I restarted Hannibal, which down that rabbit hole.
We're all doing very uplifting stuff during these very sad times.
Yep.
None of which involved a Where Have They Been Doing. So we'll just move right into Shaft. Chewy, you seem ready and rearing to talk about it. Do you want to do a very quick breakdown?
Well, in this movie, we come along to a murder scene, which it doesn't start out as a murder scene. It's a assault.
He's dying.
He's dying.
Yeah. Mekhi Phifer is dying in the beginning of this movie.
And Nick Fury shows up. He's really unhappy.
You can just call him Shaft. The movie's named after him.
But then he goes into the bar and he's like, Batman, you did this, didn't you? And Batman's like, yeah, I did. I mean, look at me.
Yeah, I did. This version of Batman is racist as fuck.
He really is. He's like a not dashing version of his American Psycho character, essentially. He's like his dumb version of his American Psycho version.
Yeah, and like Trust Fund Kid Psycho version.
Yeah. Trust Fund Patrick Bateman.
Toni Collette hasn't been in the MCU or DCU.
Nope, sorry.
Pooh. All right, the United States of Terra is the waitress. Either way, okay.
Wait, maybe she did a voice. Let me look it up while you keep talking.
No.
You keep talking. I'll see.
But either way, so Shaft is like saying you're the one that did this, didn't you? And the other guy's pretty much admitting to it immediately. And for some reason, there's doubt, and then he sees the blood on the waitress's face, and it's like, well, game over. I mean, why is there blood on your face? you saw something. No, I didn't. Yeah, you did. And then friggin' Christian Bale's character doubles down on his terribleness, and Shaft punches him in the face twice, which he deserved. And then Colette disappears, and then we go to the trial, and he gets bail, and then, oh my gosh, he skips bail immediately because he's a terrible person. He runs to Amsterdam, and then the movie jumps 2 years, and Christian Bale comes back, and they pick him up, and you're like, he jumped bail, he should not get bail again. Reasonable request. Then the judge gives him bail again, and then the movie goes into Shaft needs to find the witness to prove that he killed the dude. And then the rest of the movie is all about finding this witness. And for some reason, Christian Bale's character gets in with this Latin mob who he hires to kill the waitress. And a whole bunch of people die trying to get this waitress who doesn't want to be found. Shaft pretty much leads them all to her. And he's supposed to be smart. And then a whole bunch of people get stabbed, murdered, and then the waitress is going to finally testify, and then the mom of the kid who is killed kills Christian Bale. Because, I mean, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm just gonna kill you.
And she seems sort of fine with it. Yeah.
I think everyone did.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
but this makes sense.
I mean, as they're carting her away, they're like the crowd is chanting, let her go.
Yeah, because, yeah.
Yeah. This guy fucking piped her son for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, he started harassing her son in the restaurant for no reason. Just immediately because he was black. So this movie does have things to say about race relations, of course. And that rich white men are largely assholes.
That tracks.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the movie in a nutshell.
So... where I want to start with this thing, and I just kind of want to get the ugliness out of the way as much as we possibly can. It's very strange because we started this month, as I've said the last couple weeks, to expand our viewing, and none of us had seen this movie, so that worked. However, part of the reason that we're expanding our viewing is because of violence from police.
Yeah.
Which this movie is fucking chock full of. And
the dirty cops, not dirty cops, but then the not dirty cops / Shaft is still doing dirty things.
He still executes a dude. Like, it's just... watching this movie right now with the climate of the world made me, at times, a little uncomfortable. Like, things where I'm supposed to be like, fuck yeah, Shaft, fuck him up. And I'm like,
maybe you should... pull back a little.
It's your job to not fuck him up, Shaft.
Right. It's like restraint, Shaft, please.
And it's just so weird because I feel like if I saw this movie last year, I'd be like, that movie was awesome. It was a ton of fun. Like, that's exactly what I wanted right now. And because it is, on its surface, it's awesome. It's a ton of fun. It's a movie that takes the genre and instead of poking fun at it or making a parody of it like they very easily could have, they just made a sequel. Like, it's a kind of a faithful sequel from what I remember.
But he's playing the nephew of the original Shaft.
The original Shaft is in it. And they go into business with each other at the end of the film, like, which makes sense for the third one where it's the 3 generations of Shafts. But there is just kind of like this fun element, and it's weird because it's just so not a genre that I'm used to, of this fun, wisecracking cop, but also very serious stuff. Like, I'm used to like the cop movies where if it's going to be a cop movie where you're laughing the whole way through, say The Other Guys,
right?
Everything's just kind of a farce.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, you have the comedy, but the crime is still very much a crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting
crimes.
that.
Yeah.
I was very surprised that you can go from, like, it's my duty to please the booty to Christian Bale's conversation with the Peoples and their whole banter, like their whole bargaining back and forth and just the intensity of that. Like, the movie's playing in those two areas. And yeah, no, I just wasn't ready for it.
No, it's kind of a fascinating watch. Like, as we're watching it, especially having now watched Poetic Justice and Boys in the Hood, it's like, holy shit, I see why John Singleton was chose for this. Like his just style and flair that he's been kind of perfecting over since Boys in the Hood, like really gets to shine here. Like that whole, like, cause even Boys in the Hood had this thing where Boys in the Hood is as I mentioned earlier, kind of a depressing movie, but it still has moments that'll make you laugh. Like he still can, in like the pit of despair, can bring you up for a moment. And like, what better person could there be for a film like this, where the crime is just brutal. It's just full blown hate crime. He was murdered because he was black and he was in the same establishment as him.
And he embarrassed the white guy.
Yeah, and how dare he embarrass the white guy? Like fucking horrible, tragic murder right out the gate. But throughout the movie, it has moments of just kind of lighthearted fun. It's a balancing act that I was very impressed by throughout, even though it made me very uncomfortable at times, specifically as the movie got closer and closer to the climax and the murderings just kind of got way more murdery. Particularly, there's one point where Shaft just executes a dude coming out of a window that I'm just like, good lord.
You could have just walked away there.
Like,
you didn't have to kill the guy.
Like, Shaft was just like, I have it out for this henchman. Here he fucking comes. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
And we had the same thing with the other two cops at the end of the movie, like the crooked cops with Vanessa Williams. Like, holy shit!
Vanessa just shoots him in the head.
Oh yeah, just boom.
Like how you were gonna explain that later?
Whoa.
Yeah, I audibly gasped when she came in there because I was like, she's not gonna kill him. So she's just like, we got you. You're going to jail. No, she kills the fuck out of him.
Oh yeah, because they have that moment where Shaft's like, shoot him. And you're expecting like that's not the right thing to do, Shaft. I'm here to be the policeman. And nope, just blam.
And I'm just like, do you have proof that they're dirty? Like, oh my God.
Well, they did shoot her. They did shoot her first, so I guess.
Yeah, they shot her right in the chest.
Yeah. But still, like, I was just surprised.
No. I mean, if you try to look at this movie from like a cop's point of view, or maybe cop's not the right word, but like correct justice or law enforcement point of view, this movie's a goddamn nightmare.
Yeah, because, okay, so they shot her in the chest. Cool. The thing is...
Not cool.
No.
So that would prove that they're dirty if she can collect the bullet and prove that's the one that went into her chest.
Yeah.
Because it's not in her to prove that he shot her with that bullet.
Yeah, and this was early 2000s, so it's not like they're wearing body cams. Like, nobody's recording this.
So, unless she actually had time to collect that bullet and somehow prove that that's the bullet that made contact with her bulletproof vest and came from his gun, what evidence do they have that they're dirty?
Yeah, none.
At least not that I remember in this film.
I mean, it might be there. I mean, we kind of just have to assume for the best.
A bullet definitely went into his head.
Oh, there was no denying that.
Yeah, so, like, they would definitely have evidence that she murdered him.
I still just, like, watching it last night, just as soon as she fires that shot, I just remember going, oh, fuck!
Yeah.
And by the way, I mean, kudos to this movie for trying its damnedest to dress down a Miss America winner.
Yeah.
To make her look tough. But giving her hats does not make her any less stunning.
Look, she's one of us. She's in a hat. You just put a hat on a goddess.
She's got a big jacket on.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes hats work to put some shade over the brilliant light of goddesses.
Hey, look, it's one of the most beautiful women on two legs. I don't know. She's wearing a hat.
It's the Clark Kent effect. You put a hat on a beautiful goddess, and you're like, who?
Her?
This is one of the things I just thought. The fashion of this movie, it's so early 2000. I mean, it's from 2000. But the jackets were amazing. Like, they had the amount of budget they had to have put aside just for those leather jackets on everyone.
But here's the thing.
Totally worth it.
In a movie where I should be walking out of it going, okay, so Shaft was the best looking guy throughout the whole thing. He had the perfectly sculpted facial hair. He's always got the best jacket on. He's got the turtleneck. He looks great. And then you see Busta Rhymes, and it's like, nah, I'd rather hang out with him. He looks way cooler.
Well, he looks more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shaft is a little too... Shaft would be intimidating. I would not feel safe.
Yeah, no, I thought that was kind of weird for being a movie called Shaft and having such an opening. I never was like drawn to his outfit. Like there was nothing badass. It was just kind of like I don't know. I wasn't feeling him. I was feeling everyone else around him, like to the nines in terms of costume design and all that.
But it's not just costume design either, and it's just a little bit about Samuel here. It's like, I love Samuel Jackson. Like, he is a reason for me to watch a movie. I hear he's in it. I'm like, all right, I can give it a shot. At least he'll be entertaining. But I don't feel like he had a ton to do here. Like, being the name character, he just kind of had to hit, I'm a badass with a heart of gold. Done.
Yeah.
And he didn't really have to do anything beyond that. So he does a good job. He's engaging enough to get me in the film. But like, you look at the reviews, and granted, there's a whole different argument that I'd love to have with somebody, not argument, discussion that I'd love to have with somebody about, well, this movie got like 4 out of 10s, 5 out of 10s, middling reviews, but it was also by a predominantly white critic system. So there's something to be said about the reviews for it. But either way, I think part of the reason why those reviews were sort of middling was because, as good as Samuel L. Jackson was as Shaft, he wasn't the most engaging thing in the movie, and he is the biggest thing in the movie. Whereas everyone else, like Christian Bale plays the most vile person I've ever seen him play, and he's fucking Patrick Bateman from American Psycho.
Yeah, I was like, wait.
But I'd much rather
Right.
hang out with Patrick Bateman than this guy.
Yeah, it's like, how do you top
'cause
Patrick
eventually he's gotta
Bateman?
return
This
some
guy.
videotapes.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you just point Patrick Bateman in the direction of Blockbuster, you'll be okay. But this one is like, no, just I want nothing to do with him. It's like from frame 1, the second you see him, it's like, fuck that guy.
Well, the person I found the most engaging in this movie was Jeffrey Wright.
Oh my god, he's so good in this movie.
I'm very much familiar with the roles he plays now, which are very studious.
Studious, yeah.
Where he's always the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah, like even like
essentially.
Hunger Games, he was
Yeah.
the smartest guy. Like it's
Yeah.
just kind of his thing.
Yeah.
He's
And-
playing Commissioner Gordon. Like that's his thing, is the smart guy.
And in this, he's Peoples Hernandez, who's
My God.
a low, not really low grade, but he feels low in his zone of drug dealing, and he wants to expand his business.
Yeah, he feels like a small or a big fish in a small pond is what
Yeah,
he feels like, and it's kind of the other way around.
And like just his facial expressions and just his whole body language, the whole movie is very immersive performance compared to what I've seen him do otherwise.
It is one of those things where like I've really enjoyed I think like most moviegoers or most like pop culture consumers, I've really grown to enjoy him because of Westworld. Like that's really like been his. It's for a man of his like age and stature. It's weird to say it's been his breakout role, but it's really kind of what's made everyone more aware of him. And I've always thought he was a good actor, and I've always been excited to see him in stuff. But it wasn't until I watched this where I'm like, oh shit, he's a great actor. Like his range was way more than I thought. Like I was very, very impressed by him. Like you're right, every scene he's in, he's engaging.
And his hair was immaculate.
Also immaculate hair. Almost as good as
it was
Samuel's
interesting.
beard, but not
It
quite.
was the same. Like they were
Yeah.
both very like there's no hair out of place on my head or my face.
Yeah, no, it was interesting with his character. Just when you first see his character show up, and you're like, oh, is he gonna? You kind of have an expectation how the character is gonna be played, and kind of the levels like, okay, is he gonna be goofy? Is the movie gonna treat him really goofy? And at first, you kind of think that, but just the layers that this guy puts into the character of Peoples Hernandez, like everything, like the whole packaging seems to be like it could be over the top, and it is, but there's also that serious weight to it.
Because he's a real criminal.
Yeah, he feels legitimately dangerous.
And when Walter Wade Jr. / Christian Bale decides he's going to use Peoples to get what he wants, and Peoples essentially goes, "Oh, you're cute.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at you trying to be tough.
You're gonna do this stuff for me." And Walter Wade doesn't know how to handle that.
Yeah. It was one of those like, oh, you think you're dangerous because you're violent. I'm dangerous. You're violent.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Right.
There is.
Well, and it's kind of great too, because at a certain point, I forget who his brother gets shot in the car.
Oh my god!
And he takes his turn as a character becomes very emotional, and I think out of the whole movie, his character, him, is what I ended up watching this for.
Yeah.
Because his arc was just intense, wonderful, amazing, and just how I could root for him the whole way through was kind of the big thing for me with this.
The thing that I find really interesting with him, it has to be the way he's introed into the movie.
Just eating noodles.
he's just sitting in a window minding his business, just watching the cops do what they do, and somebody just kind of casually points him out to Shaft, and Shaft is like, well, then let's arrest him. It's like, well, you can't. He hasn't done anything wrong. Well, here, I'll throw a basketball at him, get him to come down here, and if he touches me, I'll arrest him for assault. And that's exactly what happens. And it's like, holy shit, you're a crooked cop, Shaft. Like, what the fuck, man?
Like entrapment.
You threw a basketball at him. He's just sitting in his window.
Well, the most like moment of police crookedness is when he goes to beat up that one dude because the woman asks him to, and the other cops drive by seeing him beating this dude senseless, and they just nod at each other and keep driving.
Yeah, this is cool? Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, man.
See you later.
Excuse me? Like, I hope this woman's telling the truth.
Yeah, hopefully it's not like her son over there. He's like, I'm tired of him dealing drugs. You go beat the shit out of him.
What if she doesn't have a son?
Yeah, Shaft really takes people at their word. Like, it's different at the end of the movie because that woman clearly was abused, who was asking him for help.
Yeah, that's the end of the movie.
Though. Yeah, but like this one was like, he really didn't have a lot of data to go on, and he just beat the fuck out of that kid.
He did.
Yeah, he's a bit intense at improv.
It was still a cool scene.
Yeah.
I just love that kid down the street? Yeah. Wrong answer. You know the kid down the street? No.
I mean, it was funny with that.
Yeah, like.
Again, like we were saying, it might have been more enjoyable if we weren't currently thinking police brutality wrong.
Yeah. Like this was I've said it earlier, I'll just keep saying it throughout. Rough watch in 2020. Should have been more lighthearted and fun. Really, it was like, ooh.
Shaft, maybe you should cool off a little.
Shaft, you need some anger management, pal.
Why don't we try to get that judge disbarred for giving him bail after he has skipped previous bail?
Yeah, he's like, I'll set it at $1 million. That will make people happy. They can afford it. Fuckface. Okay.
Yeah, no, there's so many of those moments that just take the wind out of the sail of like the humor and the actiony and the very kind of over the top elements, because we're in 2020 dealing with we're experiencing a lot of terrible shit, and yeah, this movie is viewed very differently today. And it's part of why when it's all said and done, the movie's done and I'm thinking about it, I can't go like, yeah, Shaft. I can find these parts of the movie and just be like, oh, that was really good, and that was really good, and that was intense, or that was funny. But as a whole, I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
at the end of the movie, I was like, "Yeah, Mama's Revenge."
Yeah, go mom.
Right. Lynn Thigpen, from Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? You go, girl.
Yeah, but like there's things about it like we can sit here and dissect everything in it, and it's like the acting was great. Samuel Jackson was good enough for the role. Like he did exactly what he needed to do. Jeffrey Wright was amazing. Christian Bale, I just wanted to punch him the whole time. Toni Collette was great. Like everybody in the movie was great. The directing was on point. It was shot well. The music was perfect. Like whenever it would kick into that old Shaft theme, I'm like, yes, I'm digging this movie. But at the end of the day, would I recommend it to somebody? Not right now.
Not right now.
No.
No way.
And it's nice to see just solid action directing consistently throughout this whole month so far. And like even the movie I mentioned a couple weeks ago, Abduction, like the action's directed well. This guy, like John Singleton, can do this. Like great pacing, great placement of everyone, geography, and the editing of the fight. Like all the action is just so well done. I don't know.
And like I like that this movie, like not to harp down a well-trodden road, but I really like going back and watching action flicks pre-MCU, because there is just something sort of refreshing about different action sequences. Like there's just so much sameness now. Like it's kind of like we whenever an action sequence starts, if I'm at home, if I have to go to the bathroom or grab a drink or something, I go when the action starts because I know everything that's going to happen. But if we're watching a movie that's pre everyone going, this is the thing that we want, there's always something kind of different. There's always something that I won't see coming. And like case in point in this movie, it's like if I had gone to the bathroom, say during the Vanessa Williams scene, I'm like, okay, sure, they're going to arrest the cops and everything's going to be fine. They're going to move on. I would have missed Vanessa Williams shooting the one dude in the head and then shaft the other guy in the belly. Like there's just like there's things that just don't happen anymore. And when you go back to these older movies, it's almost kind of like a breath of fresh air. Like, oh, I remember when people tried different things and they're a little bit more experimental. And there's a part of me that, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And the MCU stuff works. But I just think we're all kind of getting a little tired of the very cutty, fast-paced, quippy action sequences. At least I am. I'll keep going to see them, but it'd just be kind of nice to see new things. And watching a movie like this was kind of like, oh, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you completely, because I've been watching a bunch of the MCU things, and just at a certain point, you just get into a lull, like, okay, we're in a pattern here, we're in a flight pattern with action, and the action here and in the other, even in Abduction, was unpredictable, raw. I wasn't sure where it was going to end up, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen during it, and I was curious. I think that's a big thing. I was like, what's going to happen next? How's this going to play out? I don't actually know. I kind of have an idea, but this could go anywhere. Like, it was kind of refreshing, actually, to have that.
Yeah, and I
not
can
be able to
honestly
fill in
say
the
that
blanks.
for the whole movie. I was not able to predict where the movie was going. Like, when the mom shot him at the end, I was legitimately surprised.
I was too.
I was surprised, but I
felt
was also
Law
like-
and Order-ish to me. But I've seen a lot of people get shot on the steps in Law and Order.
Well, I don't think I've ever watched an entire episode of Law and Order beginning to end, so that would not seem normal.
It's
to
happened
me.
more than once. Where someone's about to go to trial and they get shot on the steps of the courthouse.
I mean, I guess it did happen in Batman Begins as well. No, that was after trial. It
It's
was after the
dramatic.
trial. Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
place to shoot someone. Apparently,
Oh, yeah.
lots of witnesses.
They
and
can't
cameras.
run away. It's the steps.
That's true.
It's hard to run away when you're getting shot at on steps.
On steps.
Well,
So
and
it doesn't have
I
to be a
think some
courthouse. Just make sure they're on stairs.
Yeah. I think some of it too is that because of today, and we're sadly used to justice not being served and people just getting away with it. I was expecting Christian Bale to be able to once again get away from it, and just like, Shaft's work is never done. He's going to keep chasing him. Like, I was expecting it to go that way from a very like dejected standpoint. So it was I was surprised, even though maybe I have seen people get shot on the steps. I've seen that before, and that's not a surprising turn of events. But I had kind of, in my headspace is the bad guys getting away.
Yeah, and I think for me, just coming up to that scene, just based on how the whole movie had gone, of if I can find Toni Collette, then I can put Christian Bale in jail. And he found Toni Collette and had a very difficult time getting her to the courthouse. Her brother got stabbed, although he was totally fine. Other brother went along for the ride. Like, craziness happened, but he got her to the courthouse to testify. So here am I going like, all right, so the movie tells me that
Kind of against her will.
you can lose the word kind of. It was 100% against her will.
Yeah.
Because she also broke the law. She accepted a bribe to not turn him in.
Yeah.
So she was afraid she would also be in trouble, but I think Shaft basically went like, priority list, putting the murderer in jail is far more important.
Deal with the bribing
We'll
later.
deal with the rest of it later. Let's just get this fucker in jail first. So just the way the movie had been kind of going and shaped, I'm like, okay, so I can kind of see like A to B. This guy's going to jail now. And like I was just so ready to finish the movie with that when the turn happened, I'm like, oh, good for her. It's just like this very moment of like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Nice.
Nice.
It was
I
almost like a
liked that.
response to my frustration of the situation too. It's like, man, someone just
And
gotta
then
shoot
Toni
this
Collette
guy.
didn't have to testify.
Yeah, and she didn't have to testify, so she's no longer in trouble.
Everyone wins.
Everyone wins. And then Shaft got to quit, and he gets to go into private eye business with his uncle. Yeah, everyone,
great.
yeah, it's gonna be great. The one thing I got to say, I forgot his name. What the fuck's his name?
I don't know.
The original Shaft.
Oh, Richard Roundtree.
The one thing I got to say, I really enjoyed having Richard Roundtree back in this movie as the original Shaft. It was really cool having him there. It really solidified this isn't a remake. This is a sequel, even though we didn't change the title at all, which I'll let go of at some point in my life, I promise.
I don't know if I will. I almost watched the wrong movie.
But it was just kind of fun having him there. Like the few times that he and Samuel L. Jackson had screen time together, which I honestly don't think was enough, and why I want to see part 3 that much more now, since it's about all 3 of them. you could just see the chemistry between the two actors. Like, these guys are friends off camera and on camera, and it just worked so well. It's like, I just want to watch these two guys go out for coffee. Like, I could just watch that for Shaft.
Yeah, no, I would have been happy if that had been the first half of the movie.
Like, or just have them, like, if this had been the opening of their Private Eye, like, even just, like, this is us working together now. Like, even that, I appreciate that they really wanted to tell John Shaft, Samuel Jackson's character's story here, his thing. But there's just that moment of, like, but having the other guy here, I kind of want him in it too. And I wonder, is it just less is more sort of thing? Like, by leaving me wanting, they did something good? Because then I can go like, well, I would have said the same thing if Harrison Ford had only been in 2 seconds of Force Awakens, but he's in the whole thing and I kind of don't like it. So maybe I should just let the accomplished filmmaker and storyteller do their thing. Yeah, I just kind of convinced myself out of my own point.
I was like,
Well,
okay.
Like,
I guess.
he should be in it more, but,
Yeah.
maybe he shouldn't, because that hasn't worked out in the past. Or the
Well,
future, from this movie's point of
It's
view.
better to be left with wanting more than to have too much.
It's very true.
Perhaps, but like, was your booty pleased?
I don't know.
Or did you want more? Like, so, like, if it was his duty to please the booty, was yours? I don't know. You could pull it that way.
I mean, my booty didn't get to watch a lot of the movie because I was sitting on it.
I don't think it got to watch any of the movie.
I might have stood up at one point, turned around.
For
Booty's
some
like,
reason.
oh, Shaft! Ah! I'm going to be sat on again.
That's why I stand up and turn around in circles whenever I watch a movie. Just very
My
dizzying
butt's got to
experience.
enjoy the show.
Right.
One of the other things I really enjoyed about this movie was the production design. There was a lot of detail in it that I would imagine was researched and had deeper meanings than what I am aware of.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely, in the beginning, when they're in the restaurant, I noticed having the lawn jockeys in the frames behind the white actors.
Oh, yeah.
And I recently have been reading about lawn jockeys. It's a thing that I didn't really know anything about growing up. I remembered it was a thing that kept getting knocked over in Home Alone, but I never knew any significance of it.
Right.
Apparently there's controversy going on whether or not lawn jockeys are just straight racist, or if they were used by the Underground Railroad to help get people north side by painting them different colors.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not I have to read more about it, because it sounds like something that people could be saying to just make themselves feel better about having lawn jockeys. Or they were actually helpful, or they're both.
Either way, it's an interesting point that they were in the movie around the white people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And then I just love in people's apartment that all of his fancy furniture is covered in plastic.
Oh, yeah.
It's just,
Oh, yeah.
That's such a cute detail. I'm like, he does seem like an anal kind of guy. I'm like, don't mess up my stuff.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like what John was saying. By I'd say about halfway through the movie, I was there for Peoples. Like,
Yeah.
he was so interesting.
And his whole place is very deep reds and
Yeah.
golds. And then once the one thing we got of Walter's apartment, it just kind of looked like the same apartment from American Psycho, where it's just white and gray and black and boring. I don't remember. Did we see Shaft's apartment? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
We saw offices.
No, I don't think so.
Which they were all very officey.
They were, but there's also kind of an oddness to the police precinct, and maybe it's like I don't think I've honestly been in a police precinct, at least not an active one.
I've only been in sets.
Yeah, like I've been on plenty of sets, but like as far as like film set police precincts go, this one felt way more chaotic.
Very underfunded.
Yeah,
if anything.
underfunded was a great way to put it. Like it just kind of it felt like there's desks on top of desks. Like I never really got the idea that Shaft had anywhere to go. Like he was always just kind of in the middle of the room shouting at people. Like I didn't know if he actually had a desk. Like there was just so much just clutter.
Yeah.
I kind of liked
Yeah,
it.
no,
It just
it-
had this like chaotic nature to it.
It reminded me of what the comedic version from Brooklyn Nine-Nine did when they had to condense departments and everyone had desks so close to each other. And I was like, oh, that I was curious on what a more realistic version of that would look like, and this movie had that.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I see. This is what this could actually. I bought it. I bought it as an underfunded police precinct.
And then when we get into Busta Rhymes' apartment, and they're all like talking about how unhygienic and dirty it is, I'm like, oh, that looks like ours.
Oh man, yeah, he lives in our apartment.
That's like our. I mean, there's not very many toddler toys, but just switch it out with toddler toys, and that's what our place looks like.
Yeah, Shaft had nothing nice to
Shaft
say
would
about our
no,
apartment.
he wouldn't.
Oh yeah, I can testify as another parent.
But I also gotta say, like, we didn't really talk much about him. Busta Rhymes was pretty good in this.
He was great.
Yeah, like he's not the biggest actor. Like he pops up here and there, but he was good.
Yeah.
He was entertaining. Like all of his lines were good. I loved how mad he was about his car. How mad.
Mad too,
Yeah.
because yes, he got. Dude, of course he's gonna get evicted because of Shaft. Because yeah, you shut up. They shot up his whole building. His neighbors probably got shot.
At least had some bullets come through their walls.
Yeah.
Like his building
Oh my
got lit up.
Yeah, no, I don't know if the neighbors actually survived this movie.
But yeah, he was fun throughout. Like he nailed that perfect mix of like, oh, he's a legitimate person. Like he has wants and needs of his own, and he's comedic relief.
Yeah.
I just kind of keep coming back to, as we've been going through this month, like Singleton, he might not have had the best last few movies in his career, but when he was in it, man, like this guy could put together a movie.
Yeah. He was good.
And he kind of knows when to put things, like when to take things out of play for a little bit. I don't know. It's been a very interesting thing watching through all these movies. Just when characters come in, when they leave, and I don't know. Everyone here never overstayed their welcome.
Yeah.
In terms of characters, like the comedic relief. Like I never felt like, oh, there's the comedic relief guy. I had to remember, like, oh yeah, he's kind of comedic relief. He was just real enough, and he was funny, and he kind of came and he went as the movie dictated, but he didn't feel like he was in it too much or too little, you know?
Yeah, it was just kind of like the perfect amount. Like this is just a very well balanced movie. Like everything's where it needs to be. The pacing is good, the editing's good, the acting's good, the music's good. Like everything just kind of clicks. And it's just unfortunate that here in 2020, I'm like, everything in this movie is good and it's worth your time. Don't watch it.
Yep. Just wait.
just avoid for now. Maybe in a couple of years, when all this stuff is a horrific memory ripped in all of our minds, you might be able to sit down and enjoy this. But
Laugh at it a little bit more.
But today, hard pass. Hard pass.
Well, just know that maybe Shaft would get his, immunity
Oh,
taken away.
yeah. And
What's
then
it
he just
called
could be a
again?
cop. I don't remember the full name of it. Colorado just repealed it though, so good for them.
Yeah, where'd it go?
But I think we've pretty much hit everything that we can say. So
Qualified immunity.
qualified immunity. Thank you.
Shaft would lose his qualified immunity.
Absolutely.
I don't know. He would probably take it back.
I mean, it's
He's
Shaft.
Yeah.
It's Shaft. He does what he wants. So favorite moments for this movie. It might be a little tough, but I think everyone's gonna have one.
Yeah. I've got one.
Go
I've
for
got
it.
one in the chamber, as it were. It's a small moment, and it's more of how it's placed in the scene. But it's when Peoples is trying to comfort. It might be his kid, I think, as he's talking to his guys, and just having that juxtaposition there, just being a family man and being very gentle with an otherwise very violent person. I was really interested and intrigued by the visuals that was evoking.
All right. Mine's gonna be a little bit different change of pace, but mine has to come from it's right at the beginning of the movie, and it's gonna be when Shaft chucks the basketball at Peoples to get him to come down. And I say that because it's so early on in the movie, and it's such a ridiculous moment that it's like, oh, this is what we're watching. Like, in case you weren't aware of the type of cop that Shaft is going to be, because this isn't the Shaft from the other movie, this is his own thing. Oh, it's that kind of cop. And it just sets the tone for the rest of the movie, and kind of this gets really serious really fast, and he's breaking every single rule that he shouldn't be breaking, but he's also getting a good guy or a bad guy off the street. So, okay, I see what we're watching now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it when people came down with his whole crew and a couple dogs and stuff and be like, I'm going to be intimidating.
Yeah.
And Shaft is like, no one intimidates me. I'm Shaft.
I'm gonna be intimidating. You're going to jail. Was that your favorite moment? Or
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I love how it all includes Peoples. Peoples just ends up being our favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
He's so fucking good. So, double feature for this one. I'm gonna go first so that nobody takes mine because mine's pretty on the nose, guys. I'm gonna go for a good double feature with Shaft, because it just makes sense. I'm not gonna qualify anything that I just said, so it's up to you to make the Shaft double feature. Good luck.
Well, I would pair this with The Other Guys.
Okay.
Because The Other Guys spoofs this at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, it totally does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also
Oh,
Samuel
yeah.
Jackson
Cops
in it.
that do whatever they want.
Yeah. And Shaft was in it.
Aim for the bushes.
Yeah, Shaft dies. There's no fucking bushes. It's such a ridiculous movie.
It's so good.
Okay.
I still don't think it aged very well. Like, I don't think I'd want to watch it right now. I feel like anything with a cop in it right now is going to be kind of tough to watch.
Most of the violence happens to them in that movie, though.
That's fair.
They're not really doing the violence.
That's fair.
To kind of change the pace from your guys' choices, which were great, I'm going to do a chronological double feature starting with American Psycho and then this movie, so you can see what happens to Patrick Bateman as he devolves into a trust fund like JFK knockoff.
That works. So we have one more week left in John Singleton month. And that week, we'll be covering Four Brothers, another movie that I have never seen.
I've actually always wanted to see that one.
I did want to see it. I like Marky Mark, and I like Marky Mark with a strong director. I've gone into that many times in this podcast. That Mark Wahlberg with a strong director is a great actor. Mark Wahlberg with a weak director is Mark Wahlberg.
So he's probably good in that movie.
I'm guessing he's probably good in
Because
that.
John's like a strong director.
He's a very strong director.
Yeah,
I don't mean that as a knocking, just having Mark Wahlberg in a movie. I love Mark Wahlberg. He's cool just to hang out with. But do you want to see him as a character? Good director. You just want to see Marky Mark? Bad director.
I mean, it's not even a Marky Mark with a bad director. Sometimes you just get Durface.
Oh my god. Sometimes you get the happening. What? No.
we call him
Durface.
Durfy Mark. Durfy Mark.
Oh, Derp Mark. But either way, I'm expecting good Mark next week. So hopefully we are right about that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if my opinion on the movie has changed because I saw it when it first came out. Because I was a projectionist at the time, so it was
sure.
Yeah, so I don't remember a lot about it other than it was Marky Mark, and it's like these are my brothers, and that's about it. That's all I remember from the movie.
Fair enough. And then next month we have another person that we'll be doing that I will tell you next week. And then we'll just do our normal plugs right now. So athpod.com for this and every other show. We have Casual Cartoons, which was a little late this week. I apologize, but it did come out eventually. And then next week I'm going to try to do one more episode before I take a week or two off, and then we're going to start preparing for Frisky Dingo. And if we're very lucky and I can actually organize it, we are going to try to do that finale of Venture Brothers before we start Frisky Dingo. But it requires a lot of organizing of people who do not have a lot of time right now. So I will do the best I can. I know there is some want of that out there, and I really wanted to record it, but then the world caught on fire. So we were unable to. So hopefully that will happen. I can't promise that it will, but we will try. And 2 more episodes of Casual Cartoons before it turns into Welcome to You Are Doom, the podcast, the Frisky Dingo podcast. Yeah. And that is all the updates on the Casual Cartoons corner, formerly Venture Bros.
Cool.
Cherry, what about you?
Cool.
Watch Superstar.
Cool. John?
Demon Days every week, every Wednesday. Trucking along, having fun.
Woo.
Sounds good. So thank you to everyone who's listening. Have a good week. I will talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you later, bozos.